What else? Okay, that will be in the database only. Then what is RDBMS, DBMS versus RDBMS? What else? Server. Like what is a server in general, right? What else? That will in server only. Steps in designing a database. After that, types of relationships, constraints, then keys, anything else? Okay. So today we'll see a few more things, some theoretical part. So first thing is properties of SQL. The first property of SQL is that text is written in double quotes, sorry, in single quotes in SQL. What used to happen in Excel? We used to write text in double quotes, and it is case insensitive, right? Whatever text we write inside the double quotes, that is also case insensitive. So let me write it. SQL is case insensitive. SQL is also case insensitive. For example, Python is case sensitive. So SQL is also case insensitive. And text is written in single quotes in SQL, and it is also case insensitive. Like whatever you write inside the single quotes, whether it is capital letter or lower letter or uppercase or lowercase, it will be case insensitive. In Excel, it was what? Case sensitive. Whatever you write in double quotes is case sensitive. After every query, you have to write semicolon. Right after at the end of every query, I can say at the end of every query, you have to write semicolon. But SSMS, the ID that we are using is an exception. So even if you don't write it at the end of every query, it will still work. Okay. So these are the two properties of SQL. Coming to the next part, which is INC rules, known as identifier naming conventions. So when say INC rules, identify naming conventions. So let's say whatever column you're going to derive, you're going to give some name to that column. So there are certain rules which you need to follow before giving the names to any of the columns. First is that identifier name cannot start with digits. Okay. And special characters are not allowed. Okay. That is, special characters are not allowed. Are not allowed, I should say, in the beginning, right? When your name starts, guys. So, for example, you cannot use special characters at the start or at the beginning of the identifier. In the beginning of the identifier, for example, I am saying at the rate of Ashish, right? So I cannot use at the rate in the start of the naming when I'm naming any identifier. So the only special character which is allowed at the start of the identifier is underscore. So you can say, right, underscore and some name. Let's say underscore cities or underscore total sales, like that. Underscore. Okay. Second point, Do not use reserved keywords. For example, okay, I'll explain this. For example, there's some reserved keywords in SQL. Select, from, where, group by, like whatever, top. All these you cannot use to name the variables. Identifier name should be short and meaningful. And you have to love. Reserved keywords, I'll tell you what are reserved keywords. So let's say there's a select statement. So in the select statement, what are the reserved keywords? Select, from, where, group by, having, top. So all these words which are there in SQL, which has a some functionality, you cannot use that. Okay. So let's take an example over here for the naming conventions. For example, if I say यहाँ पे कि from equals to 20, is it correct? Why? From is a reserved keyword, so it's incorrect. I cannot, right? So I can say, can I say, let's say at the rate of sales equals to 30. Can I do that? Yeah. Is this correct? No. I cannot use special characters at the start of the identifier. So this is also incorrect. Can I write underscore EMP employee underscore employee ID equals to 101? Is this correct? Yes, this one is correct. Can I say EMP at the rate of ID equals to 101? This can be done. Right? So all these are what? Naming conventions, right? Among these two are correct and these two are incorrect. Can I write EMP space ID equals to 20? No, it is incorrect, but I can make it correct. If I want to give the space, I can use it in the square brackets. If you want to give space in between the naming conventions, you can put it inside the square brackets and this can be done. Okay, without square bracket, so let me write it while inserting space in identifier, use square brackets. Okay. So while naming the variables, you need to take care of these things. Your name cannot start with digit. Also, I cannot say 1 underscore age equals to 23. This is correct or not? Incorrect. I cannot start my name with digits. Can I say age 1 equals to 23? This is correct. These are the properties of SQL, and these are the properties of and basically naming any variables. So these points you need to keep in mind while you are giving the name to any variable. Okay. If you are giving space is also special character. So if you are giving space, then you have to use square brackets. Okay. I'll suggest you don't use this technique. Don't give space in giving the names. At least instead of that, you can use underscore. Then coming to the data types in SQL. What all data types we have seen in Excel? Like major data type, text and numeric. Text and numeric. This we have seen in Excel. In the numeric, we had what? Integer, float, boolean. What else? Date and time. Now, if I talk about the SQL, so in SQL, we have a lot of, like, if I say text, so we have a different type of text data type. If I say numeric, even int, we have different int data type in according to the size of the values, right? If I show you this example, this one. Uh, if you see the sheet, see, this is what, so length, okay, length is 8. That means what? If I go back to say one length, or I can say length is basically byte. So if I say 1 byte is equals to how many bits? 8 bits.
8 bits.
Just remember this thing. Okay. Now, let's say what I want to do is I have gender 1, I have gender 2, and I have gender 3. Okay, I will give the gender 1 as male, female, and I will give gender 2 as M, F, and gender 3 as 0, 1, 0, and 1. Okay. Now, which is the most efficient way of storing the data in the database? This one, guys, which is the most efficient way of storing the data in the database? Tell me. Last one. Why? Why last one and not these two? Huh? Because of the amount of size it is taking to store the values. Okay. So if I just see, now understand this. Okay. Understand the data types over here. So let me start with bit. Okay. 1 byte equals to 8 bits. If I have a value just 0 and 1 in a column, I can assign that column the data type of what? Bit. That means for each value or each cell, it will take how much space in the backend? 1 bit. Right? If if I have the values in the range from 0 to 255 in that particular column, I can assign which data type? Tiny int. Tiny int may the one cell takes how much value? How much space? 1 byte. That means 8 bits. Each cell take how much space? 1 byte, which is equals to 8 bits. If my values are in the range from minus 32,000 approximately to 32,000, then I will assign the data type of small int, which takes each cell takes how much byte? 2 bytes. That is 16 bits. Then we have int. If you have value from this particular minus 2 raised to 31, whatever this value is in this range, that is exceeding this range particularly. So you can go with int data type. It takes 4 bytes. Each cell takes how much bytes? 4 bytes. Then if you have even larger range, if your range is exceeding this also, then you can go with this range. That is big int, which where each cell takes how much space? 8 bytes. If your value is within this range. Clear? Okay. Now, if I talk about this decimal numeric, these two are same as, so let's say if you say float, what happens in case of float? If the value is 23.45, it will just show you 23.45. If the value is 24.350, it will still show you 24.35, correct? Let's say, so what happens in financial data is you would like to show the data to a particular number of decimal places and to a particular number of digits. So if you say decimal and you say the precision is 10, right, and you give the scale as 2, what happens is it is telling you that your digits may have, that is your value will have only 10 digits. So if I'm saying 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 digits, and how many digits after the decimal? Scale means how many digits after the decimal. So 2 digits. So let's say 1 2. So in case of financial data, you require certain number of values, like fixed number of values. So in that case, you can have this decimal or numeric or money or small money, depending on the size of the ranges that you're having and what precision, till what precision you want to keep the numbers. Okay. Then again, we have date time for the date and time. Then these are all text data types. Okay. So in the text data types, I have char, var char. So let's understand the difference. It is saying कि character string of fixed length and maximum number of characters it can take is, what is the maximum length in a particular cell? 8,000 characters. Max characters it can take is 8,000. And okay, I'll explain you what is fixed length. Then varchar. Varchar has what type of length? Variable length. And max length of characters it can take in a cell is 8,000. Same. ठीक है. Now I asked you which is the most efficient way of storing the data in the database, right? So what will I do is over here, let's say I will assign this as the data type as bit, right? So what will be my total size? What total size क्या होगा? This will be how much? 2 bits. This let's bits. Okay. This will be 2 bits. This will be how much? Let's say what I do in both of these things, I'll assign the char data type. Okay. Char data type I'm assigning. This is also char and this is also char. If I assign char to this, we'll see what happens later. But let's say these two I'm assigning char. Now what will be the what will be the size? 2. 2 into I'm converting into bits 8. One character is 1 byte in case of data. So it is how much? 16 bits. Now see, if you have just 2 cells, how much lot of space this gender 2 column is taking compared to gender 1. And if you have millions of records, you are storing a gender column, then how much space it is going to consume. Let's talk about the gender 1. Yeah, what will be the space it will be taking? So if you remember, what was the definition of char data type? That fixed length. Fixed length. What was the maximum length over here? 1. So it took 1 only. Here, what is the maximum length? 6. Right? So it will say 6 into 2 because how many cells are there? 2 into 8. One character or 1 byte equals to 8. So 96 bits, just 2 cells are taking 96 bits space in the backend. Right?
आशीष एक बार ये आप explain कर सकते हो दोबारा please?
Which one, Sparsh?
For the gender 1, like the total size of the.
It is gender char data type is taking the maximum length. So one char is 1 byte, right? So what is the maximum length over here? Email, which is 6 characters. Right? So it will assign 6 characters. So one character equals to 1 byte. 6 characters, how many bytes? 6 bytes. 6 plus 6. It will assign the same to all of the cells. It will just pick up the maximum characters. So it will be 6 into 2 into 8 because one character equals to 8 bits. Make sense? Okay. So it is 96 bits. If I assign char to this, it will be also 16 bits. Okay? I'm just showing you what's the way. So if I, what will I do? If I instead of char, let me just take it. Instead of char, if I assign the data type to these 2 columns as varchar, varchar. Now, what will be the size of this? Same as previous, there's no change, right? So 2 into 8, 16. What will be the size of this? 20. Size. So what it will do, it will see what is the maximum number of characters. So I have maximum number of characters over here is 6. It will assign 6 to all of these. Okay. After that, what it will see, it will, when it has assigned the maximum space, then it will see ki all the bytes or all the boxes are not getting filled. So only 4 boxes are getting filled. So what it will do is it will deallocate this 2 boxes space and will utilize it somewhere else. Because it's a storage in the database, right? That is why it will utilize somewhere else. So it will ultimately will take now how many bytes? 4. That's what variable character is. Here it was fixed length, it is here variable length. So it will be how much? It will be 6, 4 into 8. 80 bits. So okay, what happened in case of char? It is taking the fixed length, right? It will take the maximum length of any value and it will assign the same length to all the values in that particular column. Here it is taking the variable length. So it is counting the number of characters in each cell. So one character equals to 1 byte. 4 characters, 4 bytes. 4 bytes, and female is 6 bytes. So 10 bytes. If I want to convert the bytes into bits, so I have to say 10 into 8 because 1 byte equals to 8 bits. 1 byte equals to 8 bits. So we got 80. So if we have a column like this, not specifically I'm talking about gender, let's say categories or some other product names. So which data type I will go with? Correct. So even if you don't have even if you're fixed length, then also you can go with varchar. There is no harm with it. But if you have a variable length, then you should not go with char. You should always go with varchar. Clear?
सर क्या की अंदर कुछ भी हमारा अगर हम उसको चेंज करें
चेंज कर देते इन द सेंस
6 था
हाँ
और 6 को हम 6 वाला हटा के उसको कर देते हैं 6 की वजह से वो नेक्स्ट डेज करते हैं
So you want to be able to then fill this information over here. Female. If you're saying char of 4, then maximum characters you can fill in that particular column is 4 only. Right? So better you go with varchar. You can just not utilize this option. You can simply go with varchar in any of the scenarios. So clear with char and varchar. Now let's say if you have a very from medium to large string or large text available with you. So you can in that case you'll go with text data type because it can store the maximum length up to 2 raised to 31, 30 basically. 2 raised to 30, that is in a single cell, it can store these many characters. Because these can store at max 8,000, but if you have from medium length to large length string, you can go with text data type. Okay. Then we have anchar and varchar. So char and varchar, the property is still the same. The difference between char, now we will see the difference between char and anchar and varchar and varchar. Okay. See, now see, here the maximum length was how much? 8,000. Here the maximum length is how much? 4,000 characters. Same with the case of varchar and varchar also. Okay. Now the difference between these two is same, exactly same. Let me tell you. So when you have char or varchar, and you have nchar / varchar. Okay. So char varchar basically supports known Unicode characters. So known Unicode characters are nothing but English characters. Okay. Anchar and varchar supports Unicode characters. Yes. Okay. When I say Unicode characters, like it may support the let's say some French characters or Hindi characters, some other language characters. It has some properties related to that. Let's say special characters. Right. So char varchar only supports ASCII values. The basically English characters are stored in the form of ASCII values in the backend. We have seen that in Excel. When I wrote 98, it gave me small b. So these are ASCII values. So what anchar will do, it supports Unicode characters like special characters plus ASCII values also. That means it supports English characters as well. That's the only difference. Clear? Which characters, type of characters it is supporting. That's the difference between the two. Okay. So this was the data type part that we discussed. Any doubts over here? So what all data types we had in
So for us, Ashish, like using nvarchar or nchar, how does it affect like the performance or
how does it affect the performance? It is
in
not
terms of
okay. So it is about picking the correct data type. Let's say if you have special characters, right? So you can go with nvarchar or nchar or other characters which are like not having ASCII values. So char and varchar just supports English characters. That's it. Other than that, if you have any of the characters which are not English, you have to go with nchar or nvarchar.
because in general, whenever I use SQL before or like people generally use nvarchar only. Like
Because it supports both
yeah.
of these. Yeah. So like we had char and char and varchar, so we can go with varchar. Similarly, over here we can go with nvarchar. Okay. But only thing you need to keep in mind is the length of your text. So if it is more than 4,000 characters, then basically you can't go with nchar or nvarchar. Then you have to go with char or varchar, and if it is characters. Guys, make sense till this point, everyone? Yes. No, these are things which are written by the data engineers. We will see that. So you're just understanding till now the data engineering part. No, so when tables are created, so these data types are taken care of by the data engineer, right? Your job, see, analyst job starts from the select statement, only with the select statement. So we are understanding how these tables are created in the backend, what all data types, how they are assigned, what logics they are using. Okay. So this was regarding the data types in SQL. So let me just write it. We have in the text over here, we have char, varchar, we have text, and char, and varchar. Okay. In the numeric part, I have int, small int, big int, tiny int, decimal, like that, a lot. Okay. Okay. Guys, clear with the data type part? Yes or no?
Yes.
Now, in order to create a table, what all we require in order to create a table? Column names, right? We require column names. What data type we are going to assign to that column? And what constraint we are going to apply on that column. So these three things you need to know in order to create a table, right? Constraints, data types, and what columns that table is going to have. Okay. So we have seen the data type part. Let's now jump to the SQL. So I'll say new query to write my code. The first thing that I will do is I will create a database. One more thing before that. So let me write over here only. Commenting in SQL. So if you want to, there are two types of comments, single line comment and multi-line comment. So if you want to write a single line comment, you have to just use double hyphen. Simply use double hyphen. That's it. If you want to write a multi-line comment, your comment should start from slash, slash, star, and it should end with star, slash. Clear? For multi-line comment. Going to SQL. So let me write a comment over here. Let's say I'm writing a single line comment. So I will write, let me increase this. I will write a single line comment. So I will write double hyphen and I will say, let's say comment is create. So whatever you write in this, in the comments, that part won't be executed. That's just for the information purpose. Create database. Okay. That's it. This is the comment. And if you are saying multi-line comment, for multi-line comment, you can say slash star and star slash. So you can write, or I can just name it as single line comment. And I can name it as multi-line comment. See, because in single line comment, if I press enter and I write comment in next line, it won't take it as a comment. Clear? It won't take it as a comment. Okay. Now, in order to create a table also, you need to understand the commands. So now we will talk about the commands in SQL. SQL commands. What are the type of commands? Four type of categories of commands in SQL. Yeah. Reading. What's the definition? Data definition.
Data definition.
Language. Okay. The second part we have is
DML.
DML. Data manipulation.
Manipulation.
Language. Then we have TCL. Transaction control language. Then we have which one? TCL.
DCL, control
Control
language.
ठीक है. Now, why do we use DDL commands? Just only database. So I can say to play with the structure of the database objects. So objects can be anything. It can be a view, stored procedure, table.
वो पहले प्रीडिफाइंड डेटाबेस जब आप क्रिएट कर रहे हो तो वो सब आपको वैसे डालना पड़ेगा.
No, so you have to use this command to create the database, to play with the structure of the database objects.
क्रिएट और
Okay. What are now? Okay. So if you want to play with the structure only, then you will be using this. For example, what can be the examples of this? Creating, let's say, database table, right? What else? Yeah, line database object. For example, let's say what other task you can perform? Adding a column, deleting a column, or dropping a column. I can say delete column or deleting a column. What else? Changing data type. Right? What else? Dropping database, yeah. Drop table or database, whatever you want to drop. Truncate will do what? Delete the entire data. Let's say, etc. So these are some of the tasks I mentioned, which we can do using the DDL commands. That is playing with the structure of the database. Whether I want to add a column, rename a column, drop a table, create a table. So I'm just playing with the structure. I'm not dealing with the data over here. Okay. So what all commands we have in DDL? So to create something, we have create. Then to drop something, we have drop. To make modifications, we have alter and truncate. Rename. We do not have any rename keyword in SQL Server. I mean, this SQL Server, we are not having this rename keyword. Yeah, that will be in MySQL. SQL rename and comment. That those keywords we are not having over here. Which one? Update. Update is not DDL. That's DML. So I can just say to create database objects. To drop database objects. Data table is one of the database object. Database object can be anything, na? So drop just doesn't.
like person
Drop just doesn't drop the table. If you can drop a view also, you can drop a stored procedure also. There are different database objects. Table is just one of the database object. That's why I mentioned database object. Alter to make modifications in the database object. Truncate to delete the data. Entire data of a database object. Okay. So what are database objects? Let me just no DDL delete me over. So let's say if I say create, this example I can give create table, stored procedure, view, etc. I can create a lot of things. Drop, same. I can say drop whatever I've created. I can drop that also. Drop table, view. Alter, let's say changing data type of a column, adding a column, etc. Truncate, it just delete the entire data. Let's example deleting data of a table / view. So I think it will, the view is a virtual, doesn't we can drop a view if we don't require it. Simply just table. Creating data of a table. So this DDL is only dealing with what? Structure. Okay. The next type of SQL command we have is DML. what DML does? It deals, or I can say these commands, or should I say it deals with the data inside the database in the database objects. Right? Now, what all DML commands we have? Select, yes.
Right.
Let's say select, insert, update, delete. Okay. We use select to fetch the data from database objects. Insert to insert the data in database objects. Update to update the data in database objects. To delete the data in database objects.
Create a different document to different property.
I'll tell you, अभी तो start हुआ है. I'll tell you. Wait. अभी practical part पे नहीं आया ना, theoretical चल रहा है. अभी बता दूंगा तो फिर वो फिर ऊपर से चला जाएगा. ठीक है? DML clear with the DML part. ठीक है? Now this select is also known as DQL. Data query language. Now, see, among all of these SQL commands will be only working with the analyst will be only working with the select. Okay. Now, the third SQL command we have is TCL, transaction control language. To deal, basically it deals with what? It deals with the transaction properties. Or I should say deals with the transactions. Okay. Transactions. Or I should say transactions properties. Okay. Now in TCL, transaction control language, that means simply controls the transactions. What all keywords we have over here? What all statements we have? So we have a rollback, commit, save point. Okay. Rollback to undo the changes made in a transaction. Which is done in a transaction. Okay. Commit to make permanent changes in a transaction. Save point to partially save the transaction. Clear? Now TCL main, let me tell you what is a transaction. Okay. Let's say there is a in a bank there's a person A account and there's a person's B account. Okay. Now person A has a balance of 8,000 rupees. Person B has a balance of let's say 4,000 rupees. What person A has done, it has sent some money from his account to person B's account. He has transferred 2,000 rupees. So what will be the balance of person A? It will be minus 2,000. So it will become how much? 6. And this will become how much? Plus 2,000. This will become. So this thing is known as one complete transaction. Clear? Okay. Now let's say, so if this transaction is successful, what I will do, I will put this inside the commit. I will say make the changes permanent. That is, this record will be registered in the database, in the table of the database. Right? Now let's understand the same example, person A's account, person B's account. Person A has 8,000, 6,000. Now, what person A has done, it has transferred some money to person B's account, 2,000, but some error came in between. Okay? But the amount got deducted from person A's account, but it did not get added to person B's account. So how much balance person is left with? And this is also I think 6,000. So where did this 2,000 go? right? So what happened? Let's say some error came in between, right? So if I register this record in the database, what will happen? It will be a like this data does not make any sense. This record won't make any sense, correct? So this is incomplete transaction. So this error came in between. So I can say error handling. If some error came in between, so what I can do is I can say ki just roll back the entire transaction. Roll back means कि what ये जो 2000 deduct हुआ था, it will be refunded back to person A's account. I am undoing the changes which were done. Clear? So this transaction won't be saved. It will be rolled back and person A will get its refund. Clear? Because of some technical error that we had. Now save point is basically when you want to partially save your transaction. ठीक है, वो पूरा ट्रांजेक्शन सेव नहीं हुआ, दैट वाज रोल बैक कि ठीक है ट्रांजेक्शन सेव नहीं हुआ, बट सेव पॉइंट में ये है कि जैसे यहाँ से मनी डिडक्ट हो गया, रोल बैक में पूरा ट्रांजेक्शन रोल बैक हुआ था, सेव पॉइंट में क्या हुआ, पर्टिकुलर लेट्स से एक ट्रांजेक्शन के 3 पार्ट्स है. सो फर्स्ट पार्ट में आई गॉट द एरर, तो क्या करेगा, उसी फर्स्ट पार्ट को ना रोल बैक कर देगा. ठीक है, सो दैट इज व्हाट सेव पॉइंट इज. आई एम पार्शियली सेविंग माय ट्रांजेक्शन. क्लियर? सेव पॉइंट में फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से मैंने क्या किया है, लेट्स से टेबल ही क्रिएट कर लिया मैंने. ठीक है, तो टेबल में जो मैंने पहला टास्क परफॉर्म किया है, आई एम सेइंग कि उसमें मैंने एक वैल्यू, उसमें मैंने ना रिकॉर्ड इंसर्ट किया है, बट आई डू नॉट वांट कि ये जो रिकॉर्ड है ये परमानेंट चेंज हो डेटाबेस में. सो व्हाट विल आई डू, आई विल पुट अ सेव पॉइंट ओवर हियर कि आई विल सेव दिस रिकॉर्ड ओनली एंड फिर आई विल से टास्क टू सम अदर टास्क की डेटा चेंज हो, डेटा टाइप चेंज किया है या फिर कॉलम ऐड किया, समथिंग लाइक दैट. सो आई एम जस्ट व्हेन आई विल basically execute this query. So these two tasks which I have done after the inserting the record, these will be permanent changes in my table. But ये जो change है ये temporary रहेगा, मतलब it won't affect my table at all. ये change होगा ही नहीं, वो record insert ही नहीं होगा, insert होगा but permanent नहीं होगा. So when I will say select the data from the table, it won't show me that particular record because मैंने क्या किया, इसको partially save किया और उसको फिर roll back कर दिया. एक particular let's say आपके पास multiple tasks perform कर रहे हो, उसमें से आपको if you want to save a particular task or multiple 2 or 3 tasks, so you can basically go with save point. ठीक है, सेव पॉइंट. सो लेट्स से यू हैव अ टेबल. ठीक है, तो पहला जो टास्क आपने परफॉर्म किया है क्वेरी के अंदर, लेट्स से यहाँ पे आपने का ट्रांजैक्शन आपका यहाँ से स्टार्ट हो गया. सो दिस इज योर ट्रांजैक्शन कंसिस्ट ऑफ 3 टास्क. ठीक है, तो आपने जो फर्स्ट टास्क किया परफॉर्म दिस, यू हैव सेड कि लेट्स से ऐड अ कॉलम. आपने कॉलम ऐड कर दिया, यू हैव एडेड अ कॉलम. ठीक है, सो कॉलम इज एडेड. नाउ यू आर सेइंग कि इंसर्ट अ रिकॉर्ड. सो रिकॉर्ड इज इंसर्टेड and you are saying then something like that, change the data type. So these 3 tasks you have done, but among that you have only saved the tasks 2. You have saved it, that this is saved, and you are saying ki roll back, basically undo the changes, whatever changes you have done only to this particular task you have to undo the changes. So these 2 tasks, task 1 and task 3, will be the permanent changes and you won't be able to see any record of task 2 in the table because you have rolled it back by saving that particular task or transaction, part of the transaction, I can say. Clear? Transaction means, see, transaction means a one complete task, your one complete query. So let's say if I have a query, this is my query where I'm performing 2 to 3 steps. So that will be called my one complete transaction. Real transaction, so real transactions means the same thing only. Bank wala example, that's a real transaction. So these are also known as transactions only. Okay. Then we have data control language, which is DCL. So to give permission, or I can say access permission, to give permissions to the user. Right? So for that we have DCL, data control language. We have 2 keywords over here, grant and revoke. Grant is basically giving access of the permissions or giving access, and it is denying the access. So let's say you have given some access to a particular table to any analyst, then you have to deny that access also. So for that you can use revoke. Okay. Clear with the SQL commands, theoretical part? Okay. So giving example, let's say you want to fetch data from the I'm not doing the coding for that. When I give the permission to online students, so this is the coding part. It will say grant permission to the, and it will give the username. It will say revoke permission. What kind of permissions are also of different types. If I want to create a table, although they won't give the permission for that, but I will require the permission to create a table. I will require the permission to create a view. So whatever the database objects you are using, you need a permission to create those database objects. Right? Whichever are making permanent, whichever task you are performing or concept you are applying, and these are making permanent changes, so you need to have the permission for that, because ideally it is affecting the data in the database. Guys, clear with the SQL commands? Online guys?
Yes, sir.
Sorry? TCL? So real transactions example was that only that which I gave you. For example, bank account wala. That's a real time. You can even, so any database you talk about, let's say अगर हम A-Labs की भी बात करते हैं, right? So they are also whatever data services or payment gateways they are using. So they are using the TCL commands for that. Let's say a student has done some made some payment, but the transaction failed, and the amount also got deducted. Right? Neither it is into the A-Labs account, neither it is into the student's account. So they will use this rollback. If error, this is called error handling. If error comes, use the rollback, basically undo the changes. So let's now understand the detailed commands. Going to the SQL part. What's the first thing that I'll do? Guys, I will create a database. So I'll say create database. And so to create a database, I will use which keyword? DDL command, create. Right? So let me just write it over here. DDL. So create, and I will say create database, and I will give the name of the database. So let's say it's bootcamp underscore me. Okay, that's the name of the database I'm giving. Now you have to select this and click on execute. The shortcut for this is F5, right? Or you can simply just select it and click on execute. Once I do that, you are able to see that the command is completed successfully, right? If I expand my databases, I'm not able to, I'm able to see bootcamp. If you're not able to see it, what you can do, you can simply click on the databases and click on refresh. So bootcamp my database is now created. Okay. If I expand this, I'll be able to see tables. In the tables, I'm not able to see anything, any table, because I haven't created any table as such. So now what I will do is I will create table. So which table I should create? So let's say, let me create a customer table. F5. So what all columns? So see what I'll do. I'll first define the structure of the table. DDL commands define what? Structure. So I will say create. So like I used to create a database object. So I created database. Simply I will create a table. So create database name. Simply to create a table, you will say create table, and you will say table name. Let's say table name is customer. Now bracket open and close. Now I will give the name of the columns. So let's say customer ID, right? Space. Then you need to give the data type of the column. So customer ID. What I want to do is I want a unique customer ID. So I have a constraint which I can apply for this, which will automatically give me the customer IDs. Which constraint? Which constraint will give me the values automatically, so that I don't have to insert the values for the customer ID. We don't. What all constraints we studied in the last class? What else? Primary key won't give me the values. We studied one constraint which is identity. Identity, right? So here I can mention what is my start value and what increment I will have over here. So you're not able to see it over here. Let's see. Yeah, do not find procedure. One second. I'm trying to show you the same arguments if it is allowed me to. ID, identity. You're not showing it, identity constraint, but what it has is, what you need to do is over here, you need to write the starting ID value. My ID should start from where? So I'm saying my ID should start from 101 and it should have an increment of 1. Okay, done. Now I want to also define my customer table as primary key. This is one constraint. Second constraint, sorry, before that I need to give the data type also. The data type I will give as int. Okay. And after that, I need to define the constraint. And after that, I will define one more constraint, which is I want to define this as a primary key. So I will write primary key. Clear? I have defined the constraints of my first column and the data type. My second column, let's say, cust underscore name. Data type will be varchar. And I'm saying maximum number of characters will be, let's say, 30. Right? 30 characters in the name. And if you don't want it to be not null, I can say not null. I can say not null. Okay. I'm saying name cannot be null. Done. Then I am having, let's say, city. In the city, I am giving the varchar data type and I'm saying, let's say, 15 maximum characters, let's say. And by default, it is null. It will allow null values. Okay? Then I am saying phone number. Phone number, let's say, what should be the data type of phone number? Why it should be 8? If I add your phone number and my phone number, will it make sense? So phone number of 12 characters, let's say, so I can say char or varchar. Maximum of, let's say, 10 digits, max 10. And what else? And let's say varchar 10. And let's say if no one has passed any phone number, what should be the default value? So I can use default constraint. I can say default. And I can give the value as default value 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is my default phone number if no phone number is entered by the user. Then age, I can have age. So age may, let's say, let me give the data type as a small int. And so what I want to do is I want to check whether the user entering the values above 18 or not. Right? So I can apply the check constraint over here. After giving the data type, I can say check again whether age is greater than equals to 18 or not. If the age is greater than equals to 18, only it will then let you enter the value, otherwise not. Make sense, guys? And I told you in the properties of SQL, SSMS is an exception. So even if you don't write semicolon at the end of every query, it will still be executed. I've shown you, right? I haven't write anything over here, no colon, still it was executed. But in other, like MySQL and other PostgreSQL, you have to use semicolon or other IDs that you're using. Any doubt in the creation of this table? That's a default value if no value is inserted. I can even try one more thing over here. Key, let's say phone number max, phone number to length of phone number key, that should be equals to 10. So I can say check over here also, and I can say length function, and I can say phone number equals to 10. Right? Now this constraint I have applied check over here because let's say I have given varchar or any char. If someone enters less than 10 digits of phone number, it will still be entered. Right? But now it won't let me enter it because I have applied a check constraint that the length of the digit should be equals to 10, not less than that. Which one? This one. Nothing identity. Let's say, what will I do when I will record my first record? When I will insert my first record, I don't have to give the value for the customer ID because this identity constraint will give it the value as 101. When I will insert next record, I don't have to write 102 in the values. It will automatically give me the 102 for the next record. So auto increment is this. Guys, clear? Any doubt in the creation of the table? यहाँ पे कोई doubt है पहले ये बताओ. So let me execute this. Okay. Now the first thing that I need to do, see, correct. The default database here is master. Now whichever table you create or whatever records you insert in the master database, you won't be able to fetch it because it's in the RAM, right? You cannot fetch data from the RAM. So make sure you do not insert records or create tables in the master database. Always select the database. So what the first thing that you can do is Either you can, from the drop down, you can select the database as which one it is, bootcamp may, or what you can do is you can say, you can make your database active. So active the database. I can make database active, and I can say use, and I can give the database name. What is the database name? Bootcamp may. I can see the suggestions. I can simply say tab and just execute. Done. Now it is selected. Now I will create this table. Command completed successfully, right? You are not able to see anything. You have to refresh my database. So I will refresh it. Now when I expand the tables, see what is DBO? Database object. So customer table I have. What are the columns of this? So these are the columns, and you can see what all data types I have in this customer table, and what are the constraints I have applied, null, not null, right? If you want to see the keys, right, you can expand this. I have a key over here, which is primary key. Peak underscore customer is the name of the key. If you expand constraints, you are able to see what all constraints I have applied. C case check constraint on age column, check constraint on phone column, and default constraint on phone column. Clear? Guys, everyone clear at this point? How I have created this table? ठीक है. I'll see it after the class. Okay. Now I have created my table. What will I do now? I need to insert the records, right? So I will insert the records. So for that, I have to use which command or which statement? Insert, right? Okay. So let me write it. Inserting the records. So insert के साथ, whenever you say insert के साथ हमेशा जो keyword use होता है, that is into, right? Into, and then you give the table name. What is the table name? Customer. And then you will say values. Okay. Now, with a single insert statement, you can insert up to 1,000 records. Okay. So if I say this, what is my column 1? Customer ID. I do not need to give value to this because identity constraint will automatically give the value to the customer ID. What is my next column? Customer name. Okay, it is varchar. So varchar, that means inside the single quotes. Let's say I'm giving varchar name as Raj. Then comma. What's the next column? City. That's it. City is Ahmedabad. What else? Phone number, right? So let me get the phone number as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Then age. Age is 20. Comma. If you want to insert next record, you can simply, let me just copy this. I can say comma. So with this single insert statement, I can insert up to 1,000 records. This is my second record. Okay. 999. Let's say Ajay, and same city. Let me change the phone number. Okay. Now I'll execute this, select this, and execute. What you are able to see in the console, 2 rows affected. That means the 2 rows are inserted. Now, if I, what I would like to do now is I would like to fetch the data. How can I fetch the data? Select statement. So I'll say select
star.
I want to fetch everything from the customer table. So star from customer table name. Select star from table name. Star means everything from customer table. Okay? This is the basic syntax of select statement. Yeah. Into over here, it will be used over here then at the end of the query. But I told you SSMS is an exception. Even if you don't write it, it will work. But in other like MySQL, PostgreSQL, you have to use semicolon. Okay? MySQL Workbench, you have to use semicolon at the end of every query. So 2 rows affected, basic syntax of select. Let me execute. I'm able to see 2 rows, and I did not insert this 101 customer ID column values. It has automatically taken it up. Insert के साथ कौन सा कीवर्ड आएगा? Into table name and then values, and then you basically give the values as per the table definition. Guys, make sense? It will return an error. Okay, let's do that. What I will do, let me Control C, Control V. Now, instead of 10 digits, I am making it 9 digits. Okay, 9, let's say probably less than that also. Now, if I execute this, I'm getting an error. It is saying the insert statement conflicted with the check constraint. This is the name of the check constraint. In this database, bootcamp may in customer table on phone number column, because I've applied a check constraint. The length of the phone number should be 10 only. So it is returning me an error for that. Make sense? So this is how data integrity is maintained. Okay. Now, so this is returning me an error for that. Okay. Now what will I do is, let me insert, okay, let's say default value, right? I want to have the default value. So even if I age is 20, if I make the age as 16, then also it will return me an error, because age has to be what? Greater than equals to 18. Then it is saying ki same error on the, okay, phone number wala bhi hai yahan pe bhi error 1 2 3 4. I have given some value which is not length 10. So ये वो वाला error return कर रहा है ना, मैंने check constraint भी apply किया है कि length, अब देखो अब कहाँ पे error आएगा? On the age, because age has to be greater than equals to 18. See, age has to be greater than equals to 18. That is why. Okay. Now let's see what I will do. I don't want to give the phone number. Okay. Comma, done. I'm not giving the phone number. It should pick up the default value, and I'll execute this. It is saying column name or number of supplied values does not match table definition. When I say table definition, the number of columns in the table I'm having is except the customer ID, because identity constraint is giving the values for that. So I have how many columns? 4. How many values I'm inserting? 3. Right. So when you want to work with you want to have default value, what you can say customer, and in the parenthesis you can give the name of the columns. Right. So I can give the name of the columns as cust. So you're able to see the name, and then city, and then age. Let me make it 20 or 23, and so this is okay. So how many columns I have now? 3, and I'm giving those 3 column values over here. So now it will pick, this is how the default constraint works. Now it will pick up the default value of the phone number. Done. One row affected. Let me fetch the data. Select star from table name. Done. See, what's the default value it has picked up? Phone number. Yes. Guys, clear? Huh. Okay. So what all we have seen among these? We have seen how to create, and we have seen select, insert, right? So let's understand drop. Okay? What drop will do is, okay, one more thing can you notice over here? 106 इसलिए आ रहा है because I have entered 3 records in between, which resulted into error and it did not get registered. Custom identity constraint उनको values दे दी थी 103, 104, 105. That is why it is 106. ठीक है? Okay. So we have seen which one we have seen in the TDL. We have seen create, right? Similarly, what you can do is you can also do drop.
आशीष ये नहीं समझ आया, मतलब क्यों डायरेक्ट 106 क्यों आया?
Because when I was telling you how the error is coming, because it is not meeting the requirements of the constraints. So those records were given some customer ID, right? In sequence. So
मतलब जो error हमारे error syntax हमने डाले थे.
हाँ. So the last record which was insert was the 6th record. That is why 106. Now, if I want to drop any table, I can simply say like drop table or database. So you can simply say drop, and you can say table and give the name of the table. So customer. Okay? If I do that, what will happen? My entire table will be dropped. So before dropping a table, so drop will do what? It will delete the entire data and drop the structure of the table. Okay? So if I do that, see, command completed successfully. If I fetch the data from the customer table, if that table does not exist, it should return me error. Execute. Invalid object name customer, because it is deleted. So drop will drop the entire table. So let me recreate this table. Done. Let me insert the records. again. ठीक है? Let me select the table. Yeah. Now similarly, if you want to drop the database, drop table slash like any database object. Just give the so syntax is what? Simply you have to say drop, and then you need to give database object name or database object kind, like what kind of database object it is. It is a stored procedure, is it a view, or is it a table, or is it a database? And then you need to give the name of database object, right? For example, if you want to drop a table, what should be the syntax, guys? Drop, so drop a database. What should be the syntax? Drop database and database name. So bootcamp main. Clear? I'm just commenting it out so that even by mistake, it does not get executed. Otherwise, I have to create everything from the scratch. Okay. Now, this was drop. Now, if I talk about the truncate. Okay. Truncate. So truncate, the syntax is you have to write truncate and give the name of the database. What kind of database object it is? Table. And so you will say table and the name of the database object, customer. When I do that and execute this, it will delete the entire data. Only the structure of the data will remain. Table will remain and execute that. Command completed successfully. If I fetch the data from the customer table, see, only structure is there. The entire data is gone. Clear? With the truncate also. So we have covered create, alter, so create, drop, truncate in the DDL. We are left with alter. We'll see that. Okay. And in the TQL, we have covered select, insert. Okay, let me write it. What we have seen. So till now, let me just write it. Till now, in the DDL, we have seen what, create, and drop, truncate. ठीक है? TML में क्या-क्या we have seen? What, select, and insert. Insert के साथ कौन सा कीवर्ड यूज होगा? Into. Insert into table name values. Okay. Let me just save this file. So it's 11:02. Let's have a break and everyone be back by 11:20. Okay, everyone be back by 11:22. Not more than that. Okay. So what drop will do is it will delete the data as well as the structure of the database object. So if I delete a drop a table, it will drop the entire table. So that means that table does not exist anymore. So you just write drop, write the name of, if you want to drop a database, so like you create a database, create database name. When you want to drop a database, drop database name. So similarly, if you want to drop a table, you can simply say drop table and the name of the table, customer. Drop means what? It will drop it. That particular thing won't exist. I'll tell you that. Now, just one, do you understand the difference between truncate and drop? Drop will drop the structure along with the data. Truncate will only delete the data and not the structure. The structure will still be intact, like name of the columns, data types, constraints. Okay? ठीक है. I'll come to delete at later stage. So let's say if I select, okay, let me take it, delete.
आशीष
Yeah.
जैसे ड्रॉप के साथ आपने बोला कि वो पूरा स्ट्रक्चर भी डिलीट करता है. अगर हम जैसे कमांड दे रहे हैं ड्रॉप के साथ कि सिर्फ डेटाबेस की मतलब ड्रॉप करना है, तो स्ट्रक्चर तो फिर भी रह जाएगा, सिर्फ डेटाबेस ही ड्रॉप होगा ना.
तो डेटाबेस का स्ट्रक्चर क्या हुआ? टेबल्स हुआ ना, how the tables are related to each other and the data inside that. So if you say drop database, entire database will be dropped.
अच्छा, और अगर हम मतलब इसमें फिर ड्रॉप के साथ जैसे हमें सिर्फ पर्टिकुलरली कोई एक डेटा एक लाइन सपोज एक कस्टमर की डिटेल्स ड्रॉप करनी है, तो हम ट्रंकेट यूज करेंगे.
आपको एक पर्टिकुलर रो ड्रॉप करनी है, तो ऐसा
हाँ, राइट.
उसके लिए डिलीट यूज करेंगे. आई एम टेलिंग यू दैट, आई एम कमिंग टू दैट.
ओके.
truncate क्या करेगा? Truncate every time you use truncate will delete the entire data in that particular table. Always. Do not have any option. You use truncate, it will delete the entire data in that table. ठीक है?
And same goes to drop. Drop
Yes.
पूरा data
Drop.
with structure delete करेगा.
Drop will delete the structure also. Drop the structure. Okay. Let's say delete.
Anytime we use drop.
Yeah. So let's say delete. ठीक है? What was the syntax of drop and truncate? Drop, table, table name, truncate, table, table name. If you want to delete data, let's say if I say delete, and the syntax of this is you will say delete from which table? It's customer. Done. If I execute this, it will behave same as truncate. It will delete the entire data from that particular table. Right? So let me just fetch the data from the customer table. I have nothing till now. Let me just add these two records for now. Done. 2 rows affected. Let me check. Yeah. Now when I do this, it will behave same as truncate. See, 2 rows affected. That means all the rows are deleted. Now if I fetch it, my structure will be there, but not the data. Okay. Let me add this again, and let me add one more record over here. So if I select the data, see, okay. But here I have an option. I can choose which records I want to delete. In truncate, I do not have that option. So यहाँ पे मैं condition pass कर सकता हूँ. So I can say delete from customer where. Using where clause, I can give the condition in delete, which is not possible with truncate and drop. Right? I can say where customer ID equals to 105. Okay? So wherever you see customer ID 105, it will delete that entire row. So let me execute this. Now one row affected. That means one row is deleted. Now it is not behaving same as truncate. That is the difference. We can pass conditions in delete, not in truncate. That is why delete is a DML command, not a DDL command. If I select data, you will see there were 3 records. Now I have only 2 records because 105 is deleted. Guys, clear?
Yes.
Then let's understand it. Difference. Let's say it's also an interview question between drop, truncate, and delete. Okay. Now, see, what is the first difference? It's a DDL command. Truncate is it's also a DDL command. This is how you're going to answer in the interviews. Okay? The difference. Delete is a DML command. What's the second difference? Drops the structure and data both. Correct? Delete entire data in a table. From a table. Deletes the data from a table based on conditions. Clear? That's the second difference. Now let the third difference is specific to identity constraint. Okay? Identity constraint, that's the third difference with specific to identity constraint. What happens when I drop the table and then I create a table and insert the records? When my indexing will start from where? From the initial point which I've defined in the identity constraint 101, because that table has been dropped. So indexing will start from the initial point. In case of from starting value in identity. Okay? In case of truncate, what will happen? Same thing. Starting value, because it also deletes the entire data. So indexing will start from the starting value. And in case of delete, what will happen?
You can pass off the query from anywhere between,
Yeah. So I can say if I delete,
like
even
where
if
the
I
name
delete the
is.
entire data using the delete command, my indexing will start from the next value, whatever the last record is. Indexing will start from the
Next index for the last year.
from the next indexed or next value from the last allocated value, right? Using identity. That's changed. Clear? So what happened when I did delete? यहाँ पे it is 103. See 103, 104 because I deleted this. Right? It is not starting from 101. But when I did truncate or drop, it was starting from 101. So whatever was the last value, customer ID, if I delete all of the records and insert the new records, my indexing or customer ID will be the next value, which was the which will be from the last recorded value. So last recorded value was 102. So it is 103. Truncate के केस में क्या होगा? जो मैंने आइडेंटिटी कंस्ट्रेंट में मेंशन किया है, truncate and drop के केस में it will start from 101 only. Clear? From the start. Delete के केस में it is like कि मैंने दो records insert किए थे, which had ID 101 and 102. मैंने क्या किया? I deleted the entire data. So now when I inserted those records back again, it will take the ID as 103 because last was 102. 103 and 104. Okay? But in case of truncate, it will take 101 and 102. In case of drop, it will take 101 and 102. From the scratch, it will start from the initial values, start value. Okay? Make sense? नहीं. So let's say whatever your last value is, drop and truncate के केस में आप कर ही नहीं सकते ना ये. पहली चीज तो ये है. You cannot drop a single record using truncate and drop the structure only. So that is possible, not possible only. Wherever it is possible. So whatever the last recorded value is, that will be after that, it will give the indexing. In case of, so that's the difference. Clear? Okay. So we have seen create, drop, truncate. We are left with alter. Okay. So now let's see alter. Why do we use alter? To make modifications in the structure, add a column, delete a column, right? So let's say I want to add a column. Right? Okay. Now, first thing I will mention is which table I want to alter. Okay? So I will say alter table. Which table? Customer. Right? Okay. What I want to do in this table? I want to add a column. So I will say add, and then I will give the column name. Let's say the column name is gender. And then I need to give the data type. So data type is let's say varchar and varchar2 or 1. ठीक है? Maximum characters can be 1. Done. ठीक है? Now I will execute this. Select execute. Command completed successfully. If I refresh my table, you will be able to see columns over here. Gender. If I select from this table, see, gender column is added. Okay. Now how to drop a column or remove a column. Okay. So I will say, again, I'm making changes to which table. Column is a part of a table. So I will say alter table. Let's say before dropping a column, I want to change the data type of a column from varchar to char. Okay? Change the data type. Okay, so I will say alter table customer. Now I am altering the table, but data type is in respect to what? Columns. So I need to alter the column also this time. So I will say alter column, and the name of the column is gender. What was the data type? Varchar. Let me give you a char of 1. Maximum characters 1. Just telling you how to change the data type. And you can see colon in other IDs. Here, if you don't do it, it will still work. Execute. See, now you can see gender का data type क्या है यहाँ पे? Varchar. Right? I can simply execute. Command completed successfully. Let me refresh. Columns. What is the data type now? Yeah. So This is how you are going to change the data type. Now I will drop a, so drop I will do later. Let's say I want to update this column. So I'll have to update later. Let's say let me drop only. Okay. So drop a column. So alter table name is customer, then drop, like to add a column I will say add and column name. To drop a column I have to say drop and I have to use the keyword column and then give the column name gender. Okay, execute. Command completed successfully. Now if I fetch the data, select star from table name customer, done. See, gender is dropped. Any query over here?
तो ये ड्रॉप की जगह पे डिलीट भी तो यूज कर सकते हैं हम,
क्या यूज कर सकते हैं
जो आपने ड्रॉप कॉलम नेम
यहाँ पे?
हाँ
नहीं,
delete
you cannot use delete. Delete is to delete the data.
no delete करता है ना अगर कमांड देंगे तो।
Correct. And there's no
drop-
data only. I'm dropping a column, entire column I'm dropping.
and if you have to delete a specific gender from the
Then delete
customer,
ये वाला you can use.
yeah, but we have to mention from the using the where clause.
Correct.
Okay.
Guys, any query in the alter? Add gender. Yeah, you can give the constraint also, not null. हाँ. मतलब it will be either. देखो मैंने ऐड किया यहाँ पे varchar is 1. When I will insert the data, I can insert maximum 1 character. Not in gender column. So we'll update this data. Acha, you want, sorry, I need to drop this and I will say not null. So you are applying a constraint. That's it. Nothing. Alter table allows to add a column that contains nulls for our default definition. Okay. So for that, you need to, if you want to add not null, what you can do is you need to update the constraint, right? So how you can add a constraint, let me tell you. So add a constraint. Okay. So I will say alter table and I will give the table name as customer and I will say add. What do I want to add? Constraint. And then give the name of the column. Let's say it is gender and constraint is not null. For add constraint, let's say give what I can do is alter column gender and I can say not null. Cannot insert the value null. Okay, the problem with this is we already have a null value into the gender column. That is why. Okay, so what we can do is we can fill the values and then we can apply the not null. Okay, yeah, what we can do is, okay, let me fill the value. How can I fill the value? Okay. Update. So I can say now update के साथ कौन सा कीवर्ड यूज होगा? Set. ठीक है, insert के साथ into, update के साथ set. So I will say update and table name. Which table I want to update? Customer. Then I will say set. Set what? Which column? Gender equals to, let's say, female. Female for what? Let's say entire column I'm setting as, sorry, not female, male. Entire. So if I just execute this, what will happen? Let me see if that exists or not. That column exists. Yeah. If I just execute this, what will happen? The entire gender column will be set as M. 2 rows affected. Okay. Now if I check the data, let me just have this over here only. Done. Now I can alter this. I am adding a constraint which is not null because now it will complete it. Done. Okay. Now it cannot be null because if there was already a null value, it was not taking that constraint. This is how you can add a not null constraint. If you want to give, okay, I'll do more on this update wala. Okay, so what we have done is we have seen how to add a column, how to drop a column, how to update the column with values, and how to change the data type of a column, and how to add a constraint. Correct? क्या अलग अलग करना where condition, I'll come to that अभी मैंने cover नहीं किया है, so this was for just add a, अभी हम alter पे ही है फिलहाल, ठीक है? This is how I can add a constraint. See now not null हो गया ना. What I want to do, I want to change this constraint from not null to null. ठीक है? So what will I do is I will say alter table customer, and I will say alter column gender char of 1, and I will say null. That's it. If I do this, my not null constraint is changed to null. Okay, that's one thing. Now, what else? Now let's say what I want to do is I want to drop the check constraint. I want to drop the check constraint on age column. Okay. So how you can drop a call? How you can drop the check constraint is add a constraint, and then this you have a drop constraint. So which table to alter? Customer, and I will say drop constraint. What should I write over here? Check. What is the name of the constraint? Check. Correct? Incorrect syntax near the keyword check. What do you think the issue is? See, I told you earlier what these are having in the, if I basically expand the constraints, what are these? Some random numbers are generated along with the names over here. So this is what? This is the name of the constraint. Check is not a check is a type of a constraint. It's not a name of the constraint. The name of the constraint which I've applied on age column is what? CK underscore customer underscore age underscore 3D 5E1 FT2. That's the name of the constraint. So you will write what over here? Drop constraint and constraint name. So one thing is that you can write this entire thing, or you can simply click and drag it over here. Execute. Command completed successfully. Now, how will you check whether this constraint has been dropped or not? I will say insert. Let me add the value. So I can say, let's say age, this one, right? Default value with something. I am saying not Abhishek. Sometimes let me take Shyam. Gurgaon 23. Right. Let me take the age as 70. What was my constraint? Greater than equals to 18. Right. So it should be inserted now because I've dropped that constraint. One row affected. If I check my data, see 17. Gender is null because I have said कि null values are allowed in gender. Clear everyone? This is how you can drop a constraint. Now.
में gender में तो यहाँ पे क्या ये वाला data fetch नहीं करता.
Fetch नहीं कर रहा मतलब I haven't given the value for the gender over here, right?
No,
अगर gender में यहाँ पे not null constraint होता तो into the over here I had to write the gender column necessary. This would have been a necessary thing.
एक बार करके दिखाओगे प्लीज.
Guys, please.
Not null वाला.
या विधि?
ये not null वाला एक बार करके दिखा दोगे execute.
मैंने null देखो not null तो पहले था ना, अब मैंने null कर दिया यहाँ पे.
वो तो मैं समझ गई कि null किया तो यहाँ पे वैल्यू null आ गई. बट अगर हम not null करेंगे तो फिर मतलब डेटा कैसे प्रेजेंट होगा, एक बार आप दिखा सकते हो प्लीज.
So you have to then write your gender column over here ना. So I have to drop this record for that. Let me drop it.
नहीं, she's saying कि अगर आप जैसे अभी आपने alter null किया है ना, alter करके null किया आपने, तो आप उसको एक बार not null वाले केस में भी दिखा दो. I guess she's saying that.
हाँ,
Right,
तो then
right,
I have to drop this record first because gender में null values है. So not null I cannot apply directly. It will return me error.
हाँ, वो drop करके alter करके then she's saying.
So delete from customer where customer ID equals to 106. Will I drop or delete? Execute. Done. Okay. Now let me do this thing. Okay. Now it will allow me for the not null constraint to change. Done. Now if I enter the values, if I execute this, it will return me error. It is saying कि gender value cannot have null values because I have applied not null constraint. So I need to have gender column over here, and I will mention as, let's say, M again. Now it will take it up. one row affected. If I check, see, make sense?
So,
Yeah.
so what is not a constraint? And if you're not specifying the gender,
Hmm.
that is what it looks like.
It will show error कि gender column has not null constraint applied. You cannot have null values in that column.
और हम इसमें क्या ये कंस्ट्रेंट पास कर सकते हैं, जैसे जहाँ पे स्पेसिफाई नहीं है कि मेल है या फीमेल है, जेंडर स्पेसिफाई नहीं है, वहाँ पे अनआइडेंटिफाइड करके ले ले, यू या अनआइडेंटिफाइड
Unidentified, you need to have some value. तो यहाँ पे मैंने अब char 1 लिखा हुआ है, ठीक है? तो then in that case you can go with var char 10, something like that. So maximum characters it can take is 1.
तो यू भी ले सकते हैं, मतलब हम ये कंस्ट्रेंट पास कर सकते हैं वैसे हम जस्ट आस्किंग
Default
But,
constraint you can apply. Like if it is no value is given for the gender, you can say default value unidentified.
ओके, और उसका
Like
आइडेंटिफाइड हम सर्च करेंगे तो ये वैल्यू ले लेगा अगर हम
Guys,
नॉर्मल भी दे
please.
रखा है.
या विधि सो देखो यहाँ पे मैंने फोन नंबर के लिए डिफॉल्ट कंस्ट्रेंट अप्लाई किया है. सिमिलरली यू कैन अप्लाई फॉर द जेंडर आल्सो.
डिफॉल्ट
ठीक है?
अगर हाँ, मतलब मैं यही पूछ रही हूँ, अगर हमने जैसे डिफॉल्ट का कंस्ट्रेंट पास कर दिया, ठीक है, और हमारा
हाँ.
नॉट नल का भी पास है, तो
हाँ,
कोई भी वैल्यू फिर तो ले लेगा ना, क्योंकि मतलब कुछ तो वैल्यू ले रहा है, बस नॉट नल नहीं, ओ नल नहीं है.
करेक्ट.
ओके,
Okay, so this is how you can drop a constraint. ठीक है? Which constraint we have seen? Null, not null. इसका syntax update. So this is a very basic syntax. If I say gender equals to m, अगर null values है तो null values है या नहीं है फर्क नहीं पड़ता. Entire gender column will have only male value. ठीक है? Because मैंने यहाँ पे condition नहीं दी अभी. I'm just working with the alter till now. This is how I can add a constraint or drop a constraint. ठीक है? Null and not null. नहीं, different alter statements you have to write. Let's see now. ठीक है? Let's see that. तो मैंने क्या किया था? Check constraint मैंने drop कर दिया, right? And if you remember, check constraint का एक randomly generated number था जब मैंने check constraint while creating the table define किया था. Remember that? अब if I want to give the name to the constraint by myself, so for that I will use the alter statement. So I will say add a constraint में I will say alter. So यहाँ पे check constraint add check. ठीक है? Constraint. I can say alter table name is what? Customer. And then I can say add, what do I want to add? Constraint. Then you need to give the check name of the constraint. So I am giving the name of the constraint as ck underscore age. ठीक है? Or I can say check underscore age. That's the name of the constraint. ठीक है? Constraint name, and then I will give the column name. So not column name, I will say simply check. And here I will say check whether the column age is greater than equals to 17 or not. ठीक है? क्योंकि 17 ऑलरेडी वैल्यू है. अगर मैं greater than 18 पास करूंगा तो it will return me an error because value already exist करती है. Now done. Execute. Command completed successfully. If I refresh this table, refresh, and if I go to the keys, not to the keys, sorry, constraints. See, earlier it was taking, if I define the constraint while creating the table, it is taking some default number, right? But if I define the names externally using the alter command, so it is giving me the constraint name which I have defined. Now this is the constraint name. Okay. If you want to check, you can check. So if I insert a values, let's say 16, so it will return me an error in that case because constraint is applied. Done. Error with the check constraint, check underscore age. Make sense? Okay. So this is how I can add check constraint. Similarly, if you want to drop this check constraint, how can you drop it? Alter table name, drop constraint name. That's it. Like you drop. Have you dropped any constraint before? Yeah, this one. This is how you can drop a constraint, which is what? Constraint name. And this is how you can drop it. Okay? So I want to keep it applied for now. Then let's say I want to drop a primary key constraint and I want to apply that primary key constraint externally. Okay? So I will say what? Let me drop primary key constraint. Okay? So I will say alter table customer, then drop constraint What will be the constraint name? In the keys, I will have a constraint name which is pk underscore customer this thing. I can simply drag it over here. Now primary key constraint is dropped. Now you can even add the primary key constraint externally. And I can give myself the name to the constraint. So alter table customer, and I will say add constraint name. Let's say pk underscore cust is the name of the primary key customer. And then you have to say column names. So column names will be what? So I will say primary key right? And inside the bracket, I will give the name of the column. Let's say customer underscore ID. Done. ठीक है? अगर आपके पास composite primary key है, that is more than 2 columns, simply put comma and give the column name. That will be a composite primary key. Command completed successfully. If I refresh this, columns, not columns, in the keys, yeah, columns, you can say pk and keys, pk underscore cust is my primary key. Clear? This is how you can define your primary key externally. So what all we have seen? We have seen how to add a
तो
column, how
हम
to,
सॉरी जैसे हम प्राइमरी की डिक्लेयर करते हैं टेबल को कस्टमर आईडी को सॉरी कस्टमर आईडी वाले को कस्टमर आईडी आइडेंटिटी ये हमारी प्राइमरी की रहेगी इस टेबल की
correct,
राइट
correct.
तो जो ये भी मतलब अगर हम इसे प्राइमरी की ये भी कंस्ट्रेंट है मतलब हम इसे प्राइमरी की डिक्लेयर कर रहे हैं राइट
ये वाला
मतलब कोई कहीं भी जैसे नीचे भी आपने ऐड कंस्ट्रेंट किया है
मैंने पहले
तो
ड्रॉप किया
अगर
था, फिर मैंने या
हाँ
प्राइमरी की कस्टमर आईडी को डिफाइन कर रहा है कस्टमर टेबल में.
हाँ तो मतलब ये भी एक कंस्ट्रेंट ही है ना ये पूछ रही
हाँ,
हूँ
that's what I have to, how to add a primary key constraint externally. That's what I'm telling.
प्राइमरी की फॉरेन की हम जो भी ये मतलब ऐड करते हैं डिक्लेयर कर रहे हैं तो ये सब कंस्ट्रेंट्स ही होंगे
Correct. So we have seen what are the types of constraints. Okay. So guys, what all we have seen? How to add a column using alter, how to drop a column, how to change the data type of a column, how to add a constraint, how to drop a constraint. Right? These all things we have seen using alter. Okay. Any doubt over here till this point? And we have seen how to update a column with a constant value. Correct? So so we have seen create, drop, alter, truncate. Completed DDL. Here we have just done basic of select and insert we have done completely. Delete we have done. We are left with update. Right? So let's see the update part also. So if I talk about the update, so let me just say select star from customer. See, what I want to do is wherever, let's say, there is a name of Shyam, I want to replace it with Shyam Rathore, let's say. Okay? So I will update only this particular record. Okay? Based on condition. So I will say update. What is the syntax? What name? Customer name. Table name. Customer. Okay, then which keyword with update? Set. Set which column? Customer name. In single quotes, I want to replace Shyam with what? Shyam Rathore. Okay? If I execute this, what will happen? Error? No. The entire, all the customers will have the same name. I just want to replace Shyam with Shyam Rathore. So I will say where. Either I can say customer name equals to Shyam, or if I want to just replace a particular ID,
ID
so I can say ID also. Okay? Depends. So I'll say customer ID equals to what? 108. So I can even replace multiple columns. Okay? I can say comma. So Shyam Rathore ki jagah, let me change the gender only. Let it be. Give me some name. Give me some female gender name, guys. Supriya.
Aditi
Aditi. Yeah. Okay. Aditi, and let's say I want to replace the gender. Gender. Why is it not taking gender? gender equals to F.
Makes sense, sir.
This should give me the output, but why is it giving the red line? Yeah, it is giving the red line, but it should give me the output. Correct. So if I just execute this, now check. 108 is replaced with Aditi, and what is the gender? You can give multiple conditions in the where also you can say where customer ID equals to 108 or customer name equals to Sham, or you can say and customer name equals to Sham. So you can give multiple conditions in the where also using and or. So this is how the update statement works. This is how you can update the data. Any doubt over here on the update statement? In the where. So you can say if you have multiple conditions, like if they go with and condition, so you can say and customer name equals to Shyam. Okay? For example, like that. The customer name should be Shyam and the ID should be 108. Both the conditions need to be satisfied. Then only it will replace the values. Otherwise, it won't. You can use OR function, depends on your scenario to scenario conditions. And your in OR function, what will happen? Or not function and an OR are not functions over here. These are operators. They were function in Excel. Here they are operators. Okay? So you can use and or depending on what logic you are applying based on condition. Clear with the update statement? So done with the DML and DDL part. Let's talk. This and one. It means keep both the conditions need to be true. If this is true and this is true, what will be the output of and? True. So when the output is true, then only customer name will replace with Aditi and gender will be F. Otherwise, it won't replace. If both these conditions are met, then only it will replace this customer name with Aditi and gender with F. Same as logical functions in Excel. Same. So I am not keeping it for now, let's say. Don't get confused. Okay, guys. So let's now understand. So till now we have covered DDL and DML. Okay. Let's now talk about TCL. Transaction control language. We had which commands? Rollback. We had commit, save point. Okay. Okay. So in real life, what you do is whatever DML, DDL commands you write it inside the TCL commands. Okay. Let me write one more thing over here. By default, DDL and DML commands are auto commit, but can be rolled back using TCL commands. What happened? Let me just write it down. I don't know what happened. DDL and DML commands are auto commit, but can be rolled back using TCL commands. Okay? So whatever you write, whatever DDL and DML commands you write it inside the TCL commands because you are dealing with the transactions in real life, right? One complete process is called a transaction. Okay? Auto commit means DDL and DML auto commit means what? Permanent changes. So by default, when you execute these commands, they are making permanent changes in the tables, in the database, right? If you want to undo those changes, then you have to use those commands inside the TCL commands. Okay? So what are the TCL commands? Rollback, commit, save point. Let's see that. So let's say, so I will say begin transaction. And inside I'm saying my transaction starts from here. And over here, I will define my commands. So I am saying let's say insert, for example, or let me say update customer set gender equals to f everywhere. Okay, and then I am saying, so I am saying my transaction starts from here. This tells me my transaction starts from here. This is the task which I'm performing, and then I am saying rollback. That means the changes should not be permanent. The changes will be done in the table, but they won't be permanent changes. So if I execute this, it is saying 3 rows affected. There were 3 rows. That means that the entire gender column is now a female gender, correct? But what happens if I fetch that data? Select star from customer. What do you think? What will I get in the output? The actual data as it is. It made the changes, but those were temporary changes and not permanent changes, because I have said key changes are done and then undo it using rollback. So if you are sure about the transaction, wherever you want to make permanent changes, you will write what? Commit. Okay? Yeah. So when I'm executing this, it is saying what? How many rows affected? So that means changes are done. But when I fetch it, it is not showing me those changes because those are temporary changes. Because
ये आशीष विभिन्न ट्रांस क्या है?
transaction,
विभिन्न ट्रांस
yeah, it won't show it. It is just simply as, let's say, अगर कोई transaction हो रहा है, मतलब I'm just giving an example of this. अगर कुछ error आ जाता है बीच में, error handling के लिए there are other statements which are used like if and else. So let's say if error comes, then roll back, undo the changes. ठीक है? If you're sure about your transaction कि transaction complete हो गया है and you want to do the permanent changes, you can use commit. ठीक है? So let's say what I will do, I will perform another task. Let's say begin transaction.
कमिट के बाद जो चेंजेस होते हैं वो नहीं हो सकते वापस ना?
Right, those are permanent. And I'm saying कि I'm inserting a record. Let's say, ठीक है? This record I'm inserting.
सर फिर ये रोल बैक का प्रैक्टिकल यूज क्या है, मतलब हम क्यों यूज
I'll tell you just first understand the syntax. So this is I'm saying, and I'm sure I want to commit these changes. ठीक है, Shyam, go down 16, 16 it won't take, it will take 20, for example, May. ठीक है? And I'm saying commit. So when you're sure about the transaction to make permanent changes, if you want to make permanent changes, you can use commit. And if you, even if let's say what you want to, so this is what is done in real life. अगर आप कोई भी transaction लिख रहे हो, that is written inside the TCL command. Begin transaction, and then you will say commit or roll back. Because by default, all the DDL and DML commands are what? Auto commit. They make permanent changes. Auto commit means permanent changes. So if you're sure about it, then just do that, commit. That one row affected. So I had 3 rows. Now I should have 4 rows in the output. How many rows I have? 4. So this change is permanent.
तो TCL कमांड से भी देंगे तो it will always start from
That's what
begin
auto commit is.
transaction.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, Vidhi.
Whenever जब भी हम TCL कमांड्स यूज करेंगे, मतलब तो हम begin ट्रांजैक्शन से स्टार्ट करेंगे उन्हें.
Yes. After
And
the commit.
any logic behind it?
One
Why do
question
we
at
do
a
that?
time. One question. 1 second, Vidhi. So you're saying after commit can I use update? Say you can use update anywhere because these are what? Making permanent changes. But in real life scenarios, all these things are written inside the TCL commands, begin transaction. Because we are taking care of we are defining the properties of a transaction over here. Ki whenever any error comes, roll back. If the transaction is complete, make permanent changes.
सर मतलब हम ये कह सकते हैं कि जो कमिट है वो एक
Guys, online guys, 1 second. Yeah. Okay. So let's say you have entered this. After that, you can do any n number of things. Update inside the commit only. Yes. Begin transaction and commit के बीच में. Correct. It will change, but it won't be inside this thing is a single transaction. It won't be inside the transaction then. It will be a different transaction. Yeah. चेंजेस कर सकते हैं, बट वो चेंजेस परमानेंट है. मतलब ये जो कमिट के अंदर मैंने लिखा है, दिस इज द परमानेंट चेंज. कर सकते हैं, आप लिख लो यहाँ पे जो भी आपको टास्क परफॉर्म करना है इनसाइड बिफोर कमिट. कमिट के बाद यू कैन डू इट. सी बाय डिफॉल्ट आई एम यूजिंग द TCL कमांड. द मेन रीजन इज कि आई वांट टू हैव अथॉरिटी कि वेदर आई वांट टू हैव परमानेंट चेंज और नॉट. अगर मैं TCL कमांड्स के अंदर क्वेरीज नहीं लिखूंगा तो बाय डिफॉल्ट दीज आर परमानेंट चेंजेस. यस, बाय डिफॉल्ट दे आर ऑटो कमिट ना. So if you want to redo it, you have to go write it inside the TCL commands. I'm just giving an example. In real life scenarios, these are written inside the TCL commands because they also take care of the properties of transactions. Other keywords are also there. एरर आया था ना शायद कुछ, because when I was inserting a record, it was showing me an error. So that error record was given some customer ID. Yes, you can update it. Yes, obviously you can update it. But I am saying commit का सिर्फ इतना यूज है कि जो changes है वो permanent है. Roll back में it is temporary. बताया तो था एरर हैंडलिंग के लिए ए एंड बी वाला जो अकाउंट है, अगर डिडक्ट हो जाता है अमाउंट और आप में लेट्स से साइट क्रैश हो जाती है, अमाउंट डिडक्ट हो गया और किसी में क्रेडिट भी नहीं हुआ, राइट, और उस ट्रांजेक्शन को डेटा टेबल में रिकॉर्ड करने का कोई सेंस है? दैट इज नॉट अ कंप्लीट ट्रांजेक्शन, राइट? करेक्ट, वापस सो रोल बैक कर देंगे हम कि डू नॉट इंसर्ट दिस ट्रांजेक्शन.
रोल बैक के अंदर
नहीं, क्योंकि मैंने रोल बैक का एग्जांपल समझाया ना यहाँ पे कि रोल बैक करता क्या है. टेम्परेरी चेंजेस हुए बट वो परमानेंट नहीं थे. नहीं, see, this is a data engineering part. I am just making you understand the very basic functionality. अब begin transaction में we have a lot of things, a lot of logics are being applied. For example, if let's say transaction fails, so roll back. ये टास्क 1 हो गया. अगर else, अगर ट्रांजेक्शन फेल नहीं होता है, कंप्लीट ट्रांजेक्शन हो जाता है, तो कमिट. Got it? Yeah. Permanent means कि the changes are reflected in the table. Yes. If you have a particular thing in mind which you don't want to reflect the changes, you can use rollback. Commit is permanent changes. For example, I inserted a record. This is a permanent change. Any question from the online guys? Yeah. What was the question from the online guys? Online guys, any questions? No, it depends. It depends ki what task you're performing. Okay? It's a error handling. You don't have to use TCL commands. Okay? It's a data engineering thing. Okay. So next is we have save point, right? So let's say I am saying ki my transaction, guys, please. My transaction becomes from here, and then I will say ki I am saying ki update. That's my task 1 in the transactions. Update customer set city equals to, let's say he has shifted to Mumbai, where customer ID equals to 103. Okay, that's my task 1. Now I am saying save transaction, and I am giving the name as ST1. That is my transaction 1. So I am saying now start saving my transaction from this point. Okay, whatever task I am doing, start saving it. So I am saying delete from customer where cust ID equals to 103. Okay, and I am saying then save. I am partially saving my transactions. Save transaction ST2, and I am saying let's say what I can do over here. I'm saying alter table, and I am saying customer. Let's say customer ID or data type is int. I want to change it to alter column cust underscore ID, and I want to change it to, let's say, small int. Okay. Now, this is my one complete transaction in which I have performed multiple steps. ठीक है. Now, मैंने ये जो ट्रांजेक्शन है ये कहाँ पे सेव हुआ है? ST2 पे. ये वाला जो है मतलब जो स्टेप्स हैं, I'm partially saving it ST1 में. And this is the ST1 is the name of the this step which I'm saving. This will be the permanent change because I'm not saving it. Okay. So now either what I can do is, if I don't do anything and if I say commit, what will happen? All the changes will be permanent. If I just say roll back, what will happen? All the changes will be temporary. ठीक है. But if I say roll back, and I can say to st1, what will happen over here? Only step 2 will be rolled back, other steps will be permanent changes. If I want to roll back multiple steps, so I can say roll back to st2. I think it won't be 2. Just roll back and give the name of the transaction you have saved. This is my save point. st1 is what? Save point. Saved. How? This is how you are going to save a transaction. So I will say save point 1, and this is my save point 2. This is how you are going to save your transaction partially. ठीक है. तो अब मैंने रोल बैक कर दिया है save point 1 और 2 को. So what will happen in this case? Only this will be the permanent change. These will be what? Temporary. Because I haven't saved anything. I'm not saying roll back, nothing to this step. ठीक है. Now I will execute all of this. ठीक है. This is what my one single transaction, which is having multiple steps. And I can decide which step I can roll back, which steps I can make permanent changes. Execute. What incorrect syntax near st2?
सर दोनों एक साथ रोल बैक थोड़ी
I can do that. So if I just say
सर एक कमेंट करके देखो.
it is some issue with the incorrect syntax. अच्छा, save transaction as st1, not st, as st2.
इसमें लाइन नंबर 149 एंड 150 में सिंटेक्स गलत बता रहा है वैसे.
149.
ये नीचे जो आपने st1 st2 लिखा है रोल बैक, इन दोनों में के सिंटेक्स में कुछ इशू है इसमें, क्योंकि एरर तो यही स्पेसिफाई कर रहा है.
Roll back to st1. Okay, maybe it is roll back transaction st1 and roll back transaction st2. Yeah. ठीक है. Now this is my one complete transaction. Execute. One row affected. This is also affected. This is giving me error, but this is rolled back and this is a permanent change. This is giving me error because I am not able to change the data type of customer ID because उसमें already constraint applied है. अगर मेरे को data type change करना है तो I have to drop the constraint first, then I will change the data type and then I will add back the constraint. ठीक है. So यहाँ पे मैं alter column, यहाँ पे कुछ और कर लेते हैं ना. Let's say यहाँ पे मैं कुछ और कर देता हूँ. So let's say delete from, just showing you what all steps it can be delete from customer. That's it. ठीक है. I am rolling back both the both these steps. So again, this is my complete transaction. Execute. It is saying one row affected, one row affected. This thing cannot roll back to st2. No transaction or save point of that name was found.
डिलीट करा आपने इस वजह से तो नहीं.
Let me check. No. Yeah.
डिलीट कर
was
दिया तो
rolled.
इसलिए वो रोल बैक नहीं कर रहा.
It was rolled back. क्योंकि वो ना डेटा डिलीट हो जाता ना entirely. So only this is the permanent transaction जहाँ पे सिटी मुंबई में चेंज हो गया, बाकी जो थे वो रोल बैक हो गए. So like this, अगर आपके पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजेक्शन में मल्टीपल स्टेप्स हैं तो यू कैन डिसाइड विच स्टेप टू रोल बैक एंड विच स्टेप यू डोंट वांट टू मेक परमानेंट ट्रांजेक्शन. अब इसमें भी काफी कॉम्प्लेक्स क्वेरी हो जाएगी इफ एंड एल्स यूज करोगे और कैलकुलेशंस यूज करोगे तो यस. सो दिस इज जस्ट अ कॉन्सेप्ट दैट यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड कि रोल बैक क्या करता है, सेव पॉइंट क्या करता है एंड कमिट क्या करता है. So in real life, the queries are written inside the TCL commands. Even
पॉइंट का एक बार फिर से बता देंगे क्योंकि
so, how you can save up basically if you want to save a particular point of the transaction. Let's say if I say save transaction st1, it is saving this particular step.
ST stands for starting.
Name. I have given an alias name.
Alias name to what?
This transaction, this one, st1.
Okay.
st2 is the alias name for this one. Like I give alias name to tables.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is one complete transaction. This is how you can use TCL commands. Clear?
You were telling कि save क्या है save point का?
Sorry.
Save point का use मेरे को समझ नहीं आया. आप
अगर
बता
आपको
रहे थे.
अपना ट्रांजेक्शन पार्शियली सेव करना है तो यू कैन यूज सेव पॉइंट. फॉर एग्जांपल
Partially as in.
as in let's say you are saying कि अगर let's say same example I'll take person A account, person B account, right? You are saying if inside the TCL command अगर person A के account से amount deduct होता है and some error comes in between, ठीक है? तो that means person B में वो credit नहीं होगा, correct? और इससे भी deduct किया, तो you can say कि roll back to ST1. You can give the save point name as ST1 and can say roll back to ST1. तो refund हो जाएगा, right? Else I can say कि अगर ट्रांजेक्शन सक्सेसफुली कंप्लीट हो जाता है देन कमिट द चेंजेस.
ये तो हम मतलब इसमें सेव पॉइंट का यूज है, रोल बैक तो हम पहले भी कर ही रहे थे, मतलब जब आपने पिछला
अब जब आप ये कर रहे हो ना ये चीजें, जैसे एरर आ रहा है तो यू आर गोइंग टू से कि इफ अगर एरर आ रहा है तो ये चीज करेंगे ना, अगर नहीं हो रहा है एरर तो
सेव कर देंगे.
या बेसिकली दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्ट विल बी सेव्ड ओनली, अगर जो एरर वाला है. सो इफ यू हैव सर्टेन स्टेप्स, मल्टीपल स्टेप्स इन बिटवीन, अगर एक पर्टिकुलर ट्रांजेक्शन अगर आप डिफाइन कर रहे हो, कोई भी ट्रांजेक्शन उसमें लेट्स से 10 से 15 स्टेप्स हैं, ठीक है, तो आपको उसमें एरर हैंडलिंग तो करना होगा ना. यू नीड टू कंसिडर ऑल द सिनेरियोस, कहाँ कहाँ पे रोल बैक हो सकता है, कहाँ कहाँ पे परमानेंट चेंज करना है. सो इन दैट केस यू आर गोइंग टू मेक यूज ऑफ सेव पॉइंट. इफ यू वांट टू से ST2 वाला हटा देता हूँ मैं, राइट? तो कमिट तो लिखना पड़ेगा ना यहाँ पे. या सिर्फ रोल बैक करोगे तो एंटायर ट्रांजेक्शन विल बी रोल्ड बैक.
नहीं मतलब रोल बैक का स्टेटमेंट बता रहा
क्या लिखूं फिर?
तो मतलब सेव नहीं तो सेव बनाना तो वही है आपने बताया.
बट वो सेव कर रहा है, क्या आप उसको कॉल बैक कर रहे हो? ऑटो कमिट हो जाएगा ना. सेव तो कर रहा है लेकिन वो कमिट चेंजेस तो परमानेंट है. मैं सेव इसलिए कर रहा हूँ ना ताकि आई एम श्योर कि वेदर आई वांट टू रोल बैक दिस पर्टिकुलर पॉइंट और नॉट. वरना ये तो परमानेंट चेंजेस बाय डिफॉल्ट हो ही रहा है ना, तो व्हाट्स द पॉइंट ऑफ सेविंग इट? रोल बैक चेंज, मेक द चेंजेस अनडू, द चेंजेस. ठीक है गाइस, एनी क्वेरी टिल दिस पॉइंट, एनीवन? परमानेंट, दैट्स द पॉइंट वी आर राइटिंग इट इनसाइड द TCL ना, कि वहां पे अपने पास ऑप्शन है कि जहां जहां पे रोल बैक पॉसिबल है वहां पे हम रोल बैक कर देते हैं. तो बेसिकली एरर हैंडलिंग के लिए यूज होता है ये. क्योंकि मेन पॉइंट ये है, अगर डेटाबेस में हर बार जो चेंजेस वो परमानेंट होंगे, अगर एरर आ रहा है तब भी, तो अंडरस्टैंड कि हाउ मेसी माय टेबल विल बी, कितना यूजलेस डेटा वहां पे एंटर होगा, एंड स्पेस मैनेजमेंट का फिर देयर इज नो पॉइंट. यस, ठीक है. Okay guys, any queries till this point? So this was the part till data engineering. Let me know any doubt till this point. Anyone? Yes or no? Online guys? Guys, at least tell me. You're not audible enough today. More sequential commands. Yes, so it happened over here, right? And it also depends if your if your next task is not related to the previous one. That you have to make sure. अगर independent है तो execute हो जाएगा. Online guys, let me know clear or not so that I can move to the next part. Which one? I'm just rolling back to this save point. So all of these were executed, no? See, if I do that, one row affected, 3 rows affected, deleted. But since I have rolled back to the save point 1 and save point 2, those are not permanent changes. Only the permanent changes is of update. Okay? It is saying no transaction or save point of that name was found, but ultimately it is rolling back to ST2. Line 149. No, it is rolling back to ST2. It is basically, see, it is saying delete the entire data, but if I fetch the data, I can have the data. So those are not permanent changes. It is rolling back, but I don't know why it is showing the error. It is showing error, but it is rolling back also. Okay? Guys, am I going to get any response or not from the online? So if you have doubt, ask me at that particular point. There's no point like after 2-3 classes, you are telling me that I didn't understand the topic that you covered in the previous 2 classes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell them. Sparsh, Kirti,
सर
clear or not?
थोड़ा सा अभी है confusion but like हाँ like 90% of it is my answer.
Okay. Yeah. So it is returning. See, I think it won't return that error if I close the session and do it again. But it is saying it is cannot roll back to the save point 2, but it is rolling back. How you are sure it is rolling back? Because I have said delete from customer. That means that the entire table should be deleted, the data. But when I fetch the data from this table, it is giving me that data. So it is rolled back. Matlab it is temporary changes. Just close the session and do it again. Okay. Tanay, this is the example on save point. Like if you have multiple steps in a transaction and if you want to take care of the error handling, then you will be using save point in that. Because rollback will roll back the entire transaction. If you want to roll back a certain part of a transaction, then you have to go with save point. Okay. Okay. So till now we have just seen on a single table. Now what I will do is I want to define the relationship with the other table. Let's say another table I want to create is a sales table in this data set or database only. Bootcamp may. So I will say create table sales. Okay. And I will give the name to the columns as, so let's say order ID, and data type should be int, and it should be not null. Make sense? Okay. I can also define it as a primary key. So I can say primary key. Okay. Let me have identity constraint over here. Will it make sense? Order number will be auto-generated. So I can say from 201, we have an increment of 1. So order number will be generated automatically. I don't have to write the order numbers. Okay. Now,
Sir.
amount.
हेलो एम आई ऑडिबल
Yeah, Tanil.
सर यहाँ पे जो आप आइडेंटिटी यूज कर रहे हैं 201 और +1 करके आप कर रहे हो वहाँ पे जब अगर हम कोई एरर आता है तो वहाँ पे वो अपने आप मतलब 201 से 203 चला जा रहा है तो 202
करेक्ट.
तो सर यहाँ पे एरर के कारण तो सर यूजर आईडी चेंज हो जा रहा है ना तो फिर इसको हम फिक्स कर
क्योंकि वो
सकते
रिकॉर्ड
हैं
रजिस्टर ही नहीं हो रहा है ना.
अच्छा
सो वो इस टेबल में हो रहा है तो दूसरी टेबल में नहीं होगा ना. नाउ आई एम कमिंग टू दैट ओनली. ठीक है. सो दिस इज अ वेरी यूजफुल वे कि आपका जो कॉलम है वो हमेशा यूनिक रहेगा. वैल्यूज विल बी ऑलवेज यूनिक.
ओके बट आई एम गोइंग टू रिकॉर्ड मतलब जैसे 101 to 105 ओके एंड
Yeah.
आई एम आल्सो वांट टू मतलब यूज सीरियली
Then you can explore some function for that, or you have to do it manually. I'll see that, like what function we have which does not skip it.
सर ये आइडेंटिटी फंक्शन और ऑटो इंक्रीमेंट में क्या फर्क है सर?
Auto increment identity function सेम ही तो है.
बट ऑटो इंक्रीमेंट में हम जनरली वैल्यू और इंटरवल स्पेसिफाई नहीं करते, हम तो बस लिख देते हैं उसको.
So I am specifying what identity का मतलब ही auto increment है. I am specifying here कि what is my starting value
यस यस
and how much increment I want to have
यस.
for each record.
यस यस. ओके.
Yeah. So amount, and let's say data type is float, and yeah, it may have null values, doesn't matter. Then I am taking one more column which is customer ID. Okay. And I will define the data type as int, and I will say it's a foreign key. Okay. Foreign key. This column is a foreign key. From which table? For which table it is foreign key? Customer table. So customer table is known as a parent table or a reference table. So I will use the keyword over here, references. Okay. Now reference to which table? Customer. Which column in customer table? Customer. Clear? So I am defining the relationship between the two tables now. This is the foreign key in the sales table and primary key in the customer table. Let me execute that. What happened? 1 second. Refresh tables. Okay, let me close the session and reopen it again. Just give me a second.
एक्चुअली ऊपर से भी शायद एक कनेक्ट एंड डिस्कनेक्ट का वो आता है ऑप्शन इसमें.
It is already connected, I think. Let me connect it again. But it should show me the tables. It is not showing me my tables only, which I've created. Let me just.
वो
Okay, now it's done. Let me refresh my tables. Yeah, now you're able to see it. Okay. So if I expand this and if I see the keys, I have a foreign key of what? Customer ID is my foreign key over here, and my primary key is order ID in this sales table. Okay. Now what will I do? I will try to insert a record into the sales table. Okay, for the customer ID which is not present in the customer table. So I will say insert into sales values. Done. Okay, so let me see what all table customer table is having what all customer IDs. Customer. One zero three four eight 10. So let me go for 101 and 102. Okay. So I will insert order ID. I don't need to insert. It will take it automatically. Order ID it will take because I've applied identity constraint. Okay, so I need to go with amount. Let's say amount is float, so 23.45, comma, customer ID. So I'm saying customer ID is, let's say, 101. Okay. Now this customer ID is not present in the customer table, and I have applied a foreign key constraint over here. Okay. Now I will execute this. What it is saying, the insert statement conflicted with the foreign key constraint. The conflict occurred in the database bootcamp customer table on customer ID column. Because this customer ID is not present in the primary key column of the customer table, it is not letting me to enter that record over here. So this is how data integrity is maintained while when you establish the relationship between the tables. क्योंकि पहले वहां पे कस्टमर रजिस्टर होगा, उसके बाद ही उसकी परचेज हो पाएगी, राइट? सो व्हेन यू सी द साइट्स आल्सो, Amazon या कोई भी साइट है, पहले आप रजिस्टर करते हो अपने आप को, तो आपका कस्टमर टेबल में आपकी डिटेल्स चली जाती हैं, उसके बाद ही आप परचेज कर पाते हो. ठीक है. सो इफ आई इंस्टेड ऑफ 101, if I say 103, that is present, so it will let me enter that record. One row affected. If I check it, select star from sales. See, I'm able to now enter that record, sales record. Clear? So this is how data integrity is maintained. That's one of the advantage of foreign key. Okay, let's check for the second advantage. Let me try to delete the primary key table. Okay, so I will say drop table customer. Okay. What is the error? Could not drop object customer because it is referenced by a foreign key constraint. So first, या तो I have to drop that foreign key table, या I have to drop the foreign key constraint. In order, basically, I have to detach these two tables. Then only I'll be able to delete that customer table. So that's the second advantage of foreign key. Clear? So let me write over here foreign key advantages. FK, PK, relationship. Pages. Okay. The record cannot be inserted in the child table if the value of the foreign key is not present in the primary key of the parent table. First. Second, you can't delete child table until it is referenced by foreign key constraint. Sorry, you can't delete the parent table. until it is referenced by foreign key constraint. Okay. Huh? It is saying you cannot insert a record in the child table if the value is not present in the, if the value of the foreign key is not present in the primary key of the parent table. Okay? Yeah. Child table is what? Child table is the one which has the foreign key. So here my sales table is the child table which has the foreign key whose primary key is in the customer table. Okay. Clear? Like you used to give a foreign key constraint extra using primary key constraint using alter command, you can similarly give the foreign key constraint also using alter command. What
आशीष
will,
एक बार एडवांटेज दिखाना उसमें जो आपने करा था
sorry?
एक बार एडवांटेजेस शो करना जो आपने दिखाए थे ओके ओके ठीक है
So again, if you want to apply foreign key constraint externally, you can simply say slash, you can say alter table. Table name is sales. And then you can say add constraint. Give the name of the constraint. Let's say foreign key underscore sales is the name of the constraint. Then you will say foreign key. अगर आपके पास दो कॉलम से फॉरेन की में कंपोजिट फॉरेन की है, अगर कंपोजिट प्राइमरी की है तो गिव द टू कॉलम्स ओवर हियर. सो लेट्स से यहाँ पे क्या होगा, कस्ट अंडरस्कोर आईडी ओनली. देन यू विल से रेफरेंसेस. देन यू विल से पेरेंट टेबल कस्टमर. अगर यहाँ पे आपके पास फॉरेन कंपोजिट फॉरेन की है तो दो कॉलम नेम्स आ जाएंगे कस्टमर टेबल में, मतलब सिंगल कॉलम है कस्टमर अंडरस्कोर आईडी. क्लियर? दिस विल बी द सिंटैक्स इफ यू वांट टू ऐड फॉरेन की कंस्ट्रेंट एक्सटर्नली. Okay. So this is how you can define the relationship between the primary key, between the two tables. Okay. If you want to see the schema of this, what you can do, click on the tables, right click, not this database, right click, and
स्क्रिप्ट में होता है ना शायद
yeah, create two. I think somewhere over here we have that option, reports.
प्रॉपर्टीज एक बार चेक करना
What have I refresh? I think it is database diagrams. So you will click on database diagram, new database diagram, and click on yes, it will form that schema for you. So I want to add these two, add. Okay. And close, and it will show you the schema. The schema is based on the coding that I have done. Okay. What you have to do, click on database diagrams, right click, new database diagram, and add the columns, tables in which for which you want to see the schema, and it will create that schema. So here you can see the keys, primary key, and order ID is the primary key of the sales table. Okay, everyone clear till this point?
यस
Let me just save it. Okay. Any other queries, guys? So I'll stop for today. Let me know any other queries. Online guys, any queries?